Our work and the ability to do our work are gifts that we have. Doing our work is actually simple. We just do it. Our work is not difficult, confounding, or complicated, but we make it that way sometimes. When we're able to focus on our work and just get down to it and do it one step at a time, it gets done, and it usually gets done well. When we overwhelm ourselves by seeing only the totality of it looming before us and do not break it down into its smaller components, we begin to feel inadequate and incapable of completing the task. We then procrastinate as our anxiety and fears click into gear. When I take my work one step at a time, it is easy. Luckily, I can only do it one step at a time anyway. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash-making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and welcome to the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your mindset, your abundance, and everything in between. So what I read from in the intro, and that's what inspired this episode, is from one of my favorite daily readers. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the cover of the book, but it's Meditations for Women Who Do Too Much. And if you put that in Amazon or Google it, it'll come up right away because it is a mega bestseller. Millions of copies have been sold of it. And we need these reminders every single day. And that's one of the number one things I want to get across today. If you are not, and if you can hear Chubbs in the background, let me show you this so that you get a bonus here, because I know it's just riveting for you here on YouTube land. This is his ducky. And if those of you who are listening and not watching, I think everyone has their kid has a favorite whoopee. Chubbs has his favorite ducky. It has been torn apart, sewed back together many times, and I've never been able to find another one. Otherwise, I'd buy him a new one. But he loves to do this when I'm recording a video or when I'm trying to get some work done, and then he shakes the hell out of it. So that's what's going on in the background over here. And we can just keep going and recording and living life. If we are not consciously and deliberately taking actions to offset what our natural autopilot brains and bodies do, you're not going to be able to have the success, attract the abundance that you want to. Our natural settings, most of us, especially if you listen to this show, you're a little fucked up. Like, I'm straight up. You don't listen to this show and relate to me if you haven't had trauma, if you haven't been in toxic relationships, if you haven't gotten all sorts of mixed messaging around money and success and what it takes. If you don't have some form of a mental illness, and I mean that seriously, where you're medicated, you've got a learning disability, you got something going on. And our natural autopilot, when we have these things, whether you have ADHD, whether you have complex PTSD like me, whether you can have depression, whether you fall into anxiety, whatever your thing is, our default mode is not what's going to get us to where we want to go in any area of our life. My default mode, no joke, would have me on my 600-pound life, and I would be totally broke, surrounded by way too many unnecessary office supplies. That's how it would look like. I have to consciously make a point to set myself up to follow through and do the things in spite of my default mode. And this required a podcast episode about this. It would be way too much to explain in an email. And if you're not on my email list, I don't really know why. And you need to go check your junk mail. A lot of people are saying my emails are ending up in their junk or spam folder. And one way to fix that is by adding my email address as a contact of yours and marking it as not spam. It's me who writes these emails to you. And these are very heartfelt stories. These are messages and divine downloads I get that I just have such a strong feeling you need to hear them right now. And there's a reason I have thousands and thousands and thousands of people on my list. It's because I don't waste your time. You want to read my emails, and they're designed to consume in less than 30 seconds. This isn't like a 5-minute situation where you're deep in multi-paragraphs. Plus, there's some funny stuff in there too. And you can swipe up in the show notes and you can either grab my summer abundance walks, which is a free guided walking meditation series, which you absolutely need to do that. And that's one of the actions that you can deliberately take in order to shift you back into the mindset and the feeling of abundance, of success. That is, you have to take those actions. And not just that one thing. There's other things you can do. You can leave Post-it notes in different areas of your house, and maybe you do new ones every single week. Some people do them every single day so that you don't get used to them. Maybe it's that you have a practice where you take 3 to 5 minutes of pure silent and meditation in the morning. And maybe meditation isn't your thing and you need to be doing something at the same time. Maybe you free write, maybe you color. I personally love like having my coffee and just staring at the waves. And I know you're like, well, Tiff, I'm not like looking at the waves. Okay, well, you can go look at the birds. You can look at the breeze going through the trees. You can go in your garden. And if you're like, I don't live in a place where I have any of that, well, then I know what your next step is. You've got to create like a nook or something somewhere in your house that delights you. Maybe it's an altar. Maybe you light a candle. But we have got to set you up to constantly bring you back to a state of faith and abundance, because your natural inclination is going to go back to fear. Oh, I know, but this isn't working. And what about this? And there's so much to do and I don't know what to do. And then what happens there? It's a domino effect. Now you end up feeling anxious. Then you end up feeling overwhelmed. Then your brain convinces you that you're stuck. Then your brain convinces you that it's hard and it's too much. And then you end up in procrastination. And then you end up not doing the thing. And then you lose the consistency. And then you beat yourself up for doing that and shame yourself for not doing that. And then the loop continues and continues and continues. You have to break that loop. And it's a physical loop and an energetic loop and a mental loop. So those 3 areas. What are things that you can do, actions you can take deliberately every single day to break that loop? I also have different reminder alarms in my phone that really can help a lot of people. And it can be one word. It can be a sentence. You know, it's like, it could be, you got this. You can do something that makes you laugh. You could set up something with a friend of yours where maybe, as long as this person's going to commit to it, where you each send each other a message every single day that is saying like one piece of evidence of that, like proof that it is possible. We can have it. So maybe it's a picture. It could be, you know, one of my podcast episodes you're sharing with a friend, or you could do it with like your partner. It could be a real estate listing that you see of a dream house, some kind of evidence where it's possible, or it puts you in that manifestation state of, this is what we're doing it for. This is what we're doing it for. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe you create a private board on Pinterest where you're dropping not just the things that you want to call in and the experiences, but like the feelings, and even just the act of like dropping a couple things in there that day. That can be enough. But I do this all day long, and I don't care how busy you are. It doesn't matter how many kids you have. I have clients who have 6 kids. I have a client right now who has infant twins. I have someone on my team who shares about it publicly, Emmy, whose son was in the NICU and he's still on a feeding tube and has been for months. And she figures out and finds a way. She doesn't have a nanny. Her husband's working during the day. He's used all of his paternity leave. You find a way if you want to find a way. And it's funny when we go, oh, I can't because I don't have the time. I can't because of the money. I can't because of this. That's what I mean by your brain automatically defaults to the negative. All the reasons why you can't, all the barriers, all the reasons why it won't work for you, all the things you're lacking. Very few people. I mean, it is definitely a unicorn situation. And again, I've coached over 150,000 people worldwide. When I say rare, it's maybe happened like twice where there's someone whose natural default is like delusionally positive to where I was like, is this person for real? And there are some of these people, but it's so rare. Most people, your ego is always wanting to stay safe and look out for danger, look out for emotional danger. And then when we have things that have happened to us in our lives, then we even look for it more. And then we can scroll social media or even be at a party or even at a grocery store. I started doing this at my new gym the other day. There was this chick whose arms are like so lean and cut, and I want to get my arms back in that state. And I was like, oh my God, how am I ever going to get back to that? I bet she doesn't really eat anything. I bet. And I started making up all these assumptions and stacking all the reasons why it's going to be so hard. It's going to require so much sacrifice. It's not going to be possible for me. But I caught myself. But I had to train myself to catch myself. When you're in that loop and you're feeling negative, all you're doing is beating yourself down. Would you say this to like a kid or a teenager or even a friend? And keep pointing out it's abuse. It's self-abuse is what it is. All the reasons you can't do it. That's terrible. Well, of course you're going to feel exhausted. Of course you're not going to feel motivated to do the thing. Of course you're not going to have any desire to follow through or have consistency. Of course you're going to end up drooling and staring off into a corner and hours go by and you have no idea like what happened with the time. And now you're like, holy crap. You guys, by the way, tomorrow's August. Yeah. And I saw shit, which I was really irritated by. I saw Halloween shit in the store yesterday. And you want to start an anxiety stress spiral? Let's put out Halloween fall shit into the stores when it's still summer. Because all it does is go, oh my God, look at how fast time is going. I have a theory. Okay. I'm going to do a post on this where it's like 2020 to 2022 equals like 10 years. It felt like 10 years to get through those 2 years. Then the year of 2022, that year felt like the slowest, most painful year on the planet. And now 2023 is like hyper speed, like it's gone in a flash. DM me on Instagram or on TikTok at ProjectME with Tiffany if you agree with this theory. Like if you're like, absolutely, that was summed up so well. Or drop it below in comments here on YouTube. It's like, it's unbelievable. And it does freak people out because it's like, oh my God, I started this year with wanting to do this, that, and the other, and I'm nowhere near it. And then that can put you in an even deeper anxiety, fear spiral, which is only going to bring up all of your fear response habits. That's all procrastination is. That's all avoidance is. That's all getting anxious and doing too many things and shiny object syndrome and then comparisonitis. All of that stuff are just fear responses. So we've got to get you back and stay in a grounded state because that's when we're thinking more clearly. But you've got to take action. If what you've been doing isn't working, let's try something else. And it's hard to have faith when you're in fear, because when you're in fear, it's pure nonsense. You're like a whirly derby. You're just a tornado going everywhere and nothing's happening, and you know nothing's happening, and you don't want it to be like that, and you want it to stop. Faith is the antidote to fear. And when I say faith, some people get weirded out like, oh, it's like religious stuff or whatever. And I have religious trauma, or that's not my thing. No, it doesn't have to be that. That's more crap your brain's making up. How about I have faith in myself that even though I'm like anxious, I'm scared, I feel pressure, I'm so behind, I have all these things going on. I have enough faith in myself that I'm going to make a conscious choice to take deliberate action. And as long as I take this deliberate action and consciously work on all of my fear response behaviors that I have and do the best I can on any given day, I'm trusting that's more than enough. I know that what I want is available for me. What you want is available for you. There is evidence everywhere. I'm evidence for many of you. You can walk out your front door and there's evidence. You can scroll online and there's evidence. You can go to a Starbucks and there's evidence. There is evidence everywhere that what you want is available for you and even possible for you, because there's people in much worse circumstances that had even more odds against them than you that still made it. There are. It's everywhere. But your brain is focused on something else that you forget about that. And when you're in a grounded state, you can see that. It's all here, but what's blocking you are your fear responses, are your fear thoughts. So let's get back to reminding yourself and taking deliberate, conscious action that it is there. I promise you it's there. It's all there waiting for you. The act of the steps you have to take to get there isn't hard. You know what I keep hearing from people lately? I don't want to spend all my time on my phone. I just got this on Friday from my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership, which, by the way, we have a few new member spots open right now. They're not always open. So you can swipe up and get in the Posse. This is where you get weekly live trainings from me and other special guest experts, a library of hundreds of videos on trainings of everything designed to show you how to go from $0 to $15,000 months consistently online. And I have people there who are like hovering at $7,000 to $8,000 months. There's people who are starting in there from scratch. There's people who have hit even $15,000 months, but they love the community, the trainings, and the reminders that are in there. And right now you do get my content creation made easy course bundle for free as a new member. Now, if you go to the page, projectmewithtiffany.com/ProjectMe Posse, and it says close, that's because those new member spots are gone, and you'll just need to keep refreshing and check back to see if there's any new spots available. So going in there, but I had a couple people saying there, because I just did a training on how to properly and with integrity and not with any manipulation, make a shit ton of money from your DMs. And I'm like, I don't want to be sitting on my phone all day. I don't want to be always glued to my phone. I want to be present in my life. I want to be with my kids. Where did I ever say in anything that you have to be glued to your phone and on your phone all day in order to make a fortune online? Do you see me on my phone all day? No, that's just not true. And what's funny when people say it is I make people open the app. I'm sure other phones have it too, but on the iPhone, you can see how much time you're spending. And the amount of time these people are already spending online doing nonsense is insane. It's already hours. The average person, by the way, and I looked up this stat, I have a screenshot, but I'm not going to pull it up because I remember it. The average person, and this is recent data, spends 2.5 hours online scrolling. Not like on their phone, but not like talking to someone on their phone or texting, but like on apps, whether it's like games on their app, watching Netflix on their app, social media. So it's odd. It doesn't make any sense because I've never said it, but look at what happens. Their brains are saying that because they're already creating a barrier, already coming up with a reason why I can't have what I want to have. I can't make money online doing what I love. I can't make a minimum of $10,000 a week, Tiffany, like you do on my Instagram stories alone. I can't do that. Even though you're teaching me the exact way, I can't do it because I don't want to be on my phone all day. Making an assumption that I'm on my phone all day, even though I've never once said that. I've never taught that in any of my programs. Period. And it's not necessary. And if it was, guess what? I wouldn't do it. But the way to market your business now and your brand, if you're not leveraging the power of social media and you're not leveraging the power of digital marketing, you're leaving millions of dollars on the table. So you're saying you're not going to you wouldn't even spend 2 hours a day doing it? That doesn't even add up. That doesn't even make sense. I'm using it as an example because our minds don't make sense when we're in fear, right? False evidence appearing real is what, someone touted. Is touted a word? God, it makes me sound smart when I say it. Touted. I'll keep saying it. That word turned into an acronym means. Because we're not thinking clearly. So to get into a space of thinking clearly, we need to get into faith and get ourselves grounded. So what are different ways you can get yourself into a grounded space ahead of time? I'd rather you get ahead of it on the offense. Some of you are spiraling right now, and now we're in it. So now we have to work on getting out of it. And that sometimes happens to me too. I would prefer you being on the offense, kind of like it's better to regularly drink water than to wait until you're dehydrated and try to catch up. It's better to have a regular sleep habit pattern than to not sleep all week and try to play catch up on the weekend. It doesn't work like that, right? It's like, oh, I'm eating well all week and then I eat like shit on the weekend and then I work it off all during the week. That's very taxing on our bodies and doesn't work. I would rather you be on the offense and not wait until you're in a spiral and have to do something about it. So what are some things you can do? And I want you to think about those and do them. It'd be great to even share them with people. And I have a post right now that's going with this episode over on my Instagram. And you can put that in the comments and share this episode with someone. Listening to this episode alone, I'm sure helped ground you. A lot of people say that my voice is soothing and grounding to them as I burp when I say that, and maybe it's my abundance walks. Maybe you splash water on your face. Maybe you get one of those like rose mister sprays for your face and you have a little like midday cleanse that can take 15 seconds. Don't let your brain tell you, Tiffany, I'm not a multimillionaire like you where I have all this extra time in the day to do these abundance rituals and get into faith. Okay, well, I have 2 businesses. I'm about to buy a 3rd. I only work part-time. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I help build safe houses for women and sex trafficked children. I volunteer heavily with communities of people who are adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. Like I have a lot going on, but none of it matters. If I don't keep myself in this faith state, the flip-flopping, the fear-faith flip-flopping is what's exhausting you. And you're still going to flip-flop, but let's slow that down, right? When we slow it down where it's not rapid firing and it's changing every hour, every 15 minutes, that's enough to make everyone spin out and be exhausted. You are going to flow and morph and move in and out, right? Kind of like the waves in the ocean. That's going to happen. But we don't want to create a typhoon, right? That's what a lot of you are in. So what are some small things you can do? Is it that you allow yourself a brain break 2 times a day where you have 5 minutes and you don't have to think about anything? You can stare off into space. You can close your eyes and put on an eye mask. What are some quick, abundant grounding rituals? Like there's something I do. It might sound weird, but I don't know. I feel the need to share it and I can show it for those of you who are watching on the YouTube, ProjectME TV, by the way. That link's also in the show notes. So I have this, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Asper cream. That really doesn't sound sexy. it's like a natural pain kind of relief. And I hold stress in my neck and my shoulders, and it has like a roller ball on it. And so even if I'm on calls, even if I'm podcasting like I am now, right? And it has a cooling effect, I'll rub this on my neck and my shoulders, even as I'm multitasking. And it grounds me, right? Because I'm focused on a different sensation. It disrupts, it pattern interrupts my brain, and it pattern interrupts my nervous system. So I've done that. Another thing I have, and I keep these right by my desk. So I have a whole kit in the center console of my car. I should do some TikTok and Instagram reels for you. I have a lip balm here, vanilla tangerine. I love a combo of citrus and vanilla. And I'll even take a moment and really concentrate on putting on that lip balm, really focus on the sensation on my lips, the smell of it, putting my lips together, feeling how lovely that feels. That was really quick. That's another pattern interrupt. I love using essential oils. So I use peppermint oil. There's one that is like called Breathe. And I'll even take that in, and you can multitask and take that in. And that's even enough, right? Even a couple deep breaths is enough, but maybe you need to be prompted because you easily forget or get so hyper fixated or focused on something. And that's why I do phone reminders. I put Post-its on my screen. I have a support buddy that I have, and my coach, one of my coaches, my energy and mindset coach, Brenda Johnson, who is part of my mastermind this year, which is beautiful. Randomly, we send each other, like when the clock hits 11:11 or 2:22, like when we feel called to send each other something, we send it to each other, and it's always at the perfect time. There's so many different ways, but for you to not do anything, you'll end up being like a leaf blowing in the wind. You'll end up in a gutter somewhere. You'll end up rotting in a gutter somewhere, right? We need to take our own accountability and take deliberate action to be in our power. We can't just blow in the wind and expect to get to where we want to go. It doesn't work like that. We have got to get ahead of this. And then when we're in a mode where we're really spinning in a typhoon, then we need to have a plan to get ourselves back into a grounded state of faith. This simple stuff is going to, without a doubt, open an entire sea of abundance to you. This is part of what has been blocking you, is by avoiding doing some of the simple stuff. It's really the simple stuff done regularly that ends up creating the most success and the most magnificent changes in your lives. It's our brains that want us to believe it has to be some complex thing, some hard thing. It's not true. That's why I always say you can make more money by doing less. That's why this workbook that I have coming out is named that, and that is about to end. So make sure, if you want to get my new workbook, Make More While Working Less, for free. We'll soon be charging for it. It'll be for sale. You can get it now by leaving a written podcast review on Apple. Leave your name or TikTok or Instagram handle inside the review. Take a screenshot and email it to us at support@projectmewithtiffany.com. It is in my show notes. Sure, you can take the screenshot and DM it to me, but you'll end up getting a reply to email it to us. This way we can track it. And as soon as my exciting giveaway for this is over, then we will be sending out the workbooks for free to those of you who have left that review. It takes 30 seconds, or you can wait and pay for it. I mean, if it were me, I would take the 30 seconds to do it now and show your abundance and your appreciation for the show, and share this episode with someone who's feeling that anxious, who's in fear right now. This is actually one of the most kindest acts you can do for someone, and make them feel so heard and understood and not placated to where they're like, okay, if she or he sent me this episode, they really get that I'm in it right now, and maybe I needed to hear this today. And this could be enough to shift them out of it and to start doing a different practice. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.